Welcome to alternate reality.
Vegas again?
Because that's what I consider. I posted this on Facebook. I consider Vegas my second home. Okay, I'm just as comfortable in Vegas as I am here.
Okay, wait. Why do you go to Vegas so much to begin with?
I like the city. It's got a different.
What do you like about it?
It's got great energy. You see people from all over the world. It's got the best dining that I've ever seen. You have so many food options that you just go nuts.
Well, you certainly are into food porn.
And the entire concept. I mean, if you walk down the strip, it's basically like a. It's like the bottle city of Candor. It's like here. Look,
really? Are people flying?
Here's this world. Here's that world. Here's this world. Well, less because the theme went out. Here's that world. Here's that world. Everything, so everywhere you go is something different.
Now you see what you just said. Yes. That's typical misthinking about Superman. The bottle city of Candor was not multiple cities in one bottle. It was one city in one bottle.
It's like
Brainiac had multiple cities and multiple bottles. So yes, but they never interacted with each other.
So Vegas has basically been put together by Brainiac. That's what you went to. When they de-themed everything, it became a little less of a thing. But I'm still seeing a hotel that's built like it looks like a pyramid.
Which hotel? I don't want to get it too much into your personal.
The Luxor.
The Luxor? Okay.
Yeah, it's a pyramid.
That's the one shaped like a pyramid.
Yeah.
Is it? I mean, once you get inside of it, I've never been there. Once you get inside of it, is it actually shaped like a pyramid?
Yes. You look upstairs and you can see it going up in the point. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you don't feel it in your room, but the way it's laid out, yeah, it's a point.
So I would assume if you go to the window and look down, you see the building rushing out in front of you down to the street level.
Well, the higher up you go, the more the pyramid effect shows up.
Right.
I mean,
that's what
I'm usually on the 12th or 13th floor, so it just looks like a regular building. But if you go up higher, your rooms your walls have an angle. All the hotels there are theme based. The Luxor is a theme based hotel. The hotel next to Excalibur is a castle.
Yeah.
Mandalay Bay is basically a big gold arrow thing. MGM Grand's a big emerald green. If Green Arrow wanted to hang out somewhere, he'd hang out with MGM Grand.
Mandalay Bay, that's where he shot from, right? What is the theme supposed to be of that thing? Because it just looks orange to me from the outside.
Mandalay Bay.
I know it's a glass windows, but
Mandalay Bay is huge.
Yeah.
There is so much stuff in that building. There's a convention center. They do pay-per-views there. Okay. This big, huge. If you're a real big fish fan, you love aquariums, you go to the Shark Reef because you're going to see more fish at that Shark Reef than you're ever going to see in any aquarium in any other major city. It's all there, and it's long as hell. It takes you a while to walk all the way through. And the thing about the hotel that I'm staying is Excalibur, Luxor, Mandalay Bay. They're all connected. So when I leave, if I had been there when this lunatic was shooting, I wouldn't have been able to get back to my room. Because I wouldn't have been able to get from New York, to cross the bridge to get into Excalibur, to get into Luxor, because I wouldn't have been allowed to get into the building at all.
Well, I assume they locked everything down.
They locked everything down, so I would have been basically, okay, where am I now? Okay, well, I'm at the Cosmopolitan. I would have to hang out at the Cosmopolitan, and they gave me the all clear. When they got to New York, said, okay, New York's fine, because people were hanging out in New York. I would have had to hang out in New York. And then they would have been like, okay, can I go into my room or not? And if they told me I couldn't go into my room, I'd probably go, well, hi, I'm an M Life member, because it's an MGM hotel. I can't get to my room.
Yeah.
My room's paid for. Where the hell am I supposed to sleep? And they'd probably go, sir.
You're out on the street until we open the place back up.
Well, they did this
the police say we can let you back in.
They said basically, they would have probably said, sir, you can't go back to your room, but since this is an MGM hotel, we will find you a room here for you to sleep in. I would have had to sleep in New York. Now, all my luggage would still be in the room. I couldn't get to it.
Right.
So I would be able, once they said, okay, you can go over there, I'd have to go over there and change clothes.
Well, you could always crash on the street if you wanted to.
Well, you could, and people, believe me, there are people that sleep on the street. Or you can hang out with the cosplay players, who basically are quite annoying, by the way.
Now, by cosplay, you're talking about like in Times Square, they have people dressed up like
You've
Pikachu.
got people dressed up.
You get to take pictures with them.
You've got people dressed up from people from The Hangover. You've got people dressed up like Jack Sparrow. You've got people dressed up as superheroes. You've got people dressed as Transformers.
But they're all there to get your picture taken and charge you money.
Yeah,
I mean, but they're not employed by anybody. They're all freelancers.
No. And what Las Vegas did a couple years ago, they did something cute. They had to apply for licenses. So you had a license to be on the strip between 11 a.m. and 1 a.m. and 1 p.m. And after 1 p.m., you had to go away. So you could only be on the street for a certain amount of hours. And okay, you got to go somewhere else. And the little thing people don't think about in Las Vegas is the casinos on the streets. So the casino can go and go, hi, you, get out.
Well, but I'm sure that happens in Times Square too. You know, the people shuffled from place to place to place when they're annoying businesses.
Well, Times Square.
I assume cops are still all over the place in Times Square, even though it's all cleaned up.
Well, no, Times all over in Times Square because there's a police station in the middle of Times Square.
Oh, okay, well there you go.
Yes, it's right there. So yeah, there's cops all over it because there's a police station right on.
You know, that's what Michigan Avenue needs. Cosplayers up and down Michigan Avenue, annoying people.
Chicago, those cosplayers who get the crap beat out of them. Get out of the way, you bum! Whack! And they hit them.
Anyway, hey folks, thanks for tuning into the Alternate Reality. This is Comic Book Man. I am going to be doing today's episode with my good buddy Bocepheus. Say hello.
I can't stand cosplay, by the way. I hate it.
Say hello, Bocepheus.
How you doing, kids?
And what we've been talking about was, we've just been obviously talking about Las Vegas. If you couldn't pick up from what we were saying, Bo's getting ready to take his twice a year?
Once a year.
Once a year.
My annual 1 week vacation in Las Vegas.
Annual 1 week vacation in Vegas, which is quite the event for him.
Yes.
Be sure to watch depending on when you see this, be sure to look on Facebook because he always takes pictures of his meals and posts them, which I think is like the most pointless thing in the
cool
world
thing about
the
phone I got is if I take a picture, I can immediately click and post it to Facebook just right away.
Yeah, look, here's the meal I'm having.
Yes.
Gee, that's great. Who cares?
Hey, gourmands.
But we're not going to be talking about Vegas today. We are here to talk about...
Oh, by the way, comics are pretty big in Vegas. They have a convention there, and they have a bunch of stores there.
We're here to talk today about comics, and specifically some of the stuff that's been going on in the news in comics. As we record this, the
New York City Comic Con is over.
Yep. For those of you who aren't aware, the New York City Comic Con is essentially the same thing as C2E2.
It's the same company.
It's the same company that puts the con on. ReedPop. They've been doing the New York City Comic Con for decades.
This is actually the second one this year. It's not one, it's two.
Yeah, but they've been doing it in New York.
Yeah, they've been doing it for a while.
For decades. They just came to Chicago and started C2E2 about 6 years ago?
About that long. Yeah, the New York City Comic Con basically always took place at the Javits Center in New York. It was always there. And it was easier because all the comic companies, before they started moving offices around, most of the major comic companies are based in New York City, so the people are already there who work on the comics.
Yeah.
So it was easier to get guests.
But the ReedPop people do a lot of conventions. Not just comic conventions, they also do gaming conventions. Yeah. They also do anime conventions. They've done
a USC Expo a couple times.
Sort of like creation conventions used to be, and they're still out there. I know creation's still out there, but they've sort of fallen by the wayside. And their comic book conventions are sort of what the Chicago Comic Con.
Yes.
Not what we have today.
No.
Not what Wizard World does. No. I mean, back in the 90s and 80s when Chicago had Chicago Comic Con. Sort of like that.
You had comic people actually showing up and saying, hi, how you doing?
Well, yeah. Now you have a galaxy of celebrities.
A lot of photo ops.
a galaxy of sea-level celebrities.
Want to see Mick Foley eat pizza? Go to Chicago. Yeah, go to Chicago.
Yeah, you can go down to Wizard World and see Mick Foley eat a slice of pizza.
Yeah. In the food court. When we saw him, we just left him.
Yeah. But we're here to talk about some of the news that came out of that and some other comic book news in general. We haven't done a news show in a little while. And first thing I want to start off with is the retailer conference that preceded the New York City Comic Con.
Now, specifically the Marvel retailer conference, because there were two.
Yeah,
Diamond did one, and Marvel did theirs afterwards.
Now, once upon a time, they haven't done this.
No, they've done it here.
No, they have. That's what I'm getting at. They haven't done it here in a while. But C2E2, Diamond would host a retailer conference just before C2E2 began. So if that began on Thursday, they would have a retailer conference on Wednesday and Thursday morning, and it would, when the conference was done, it would break out.
Free food.
It would break out, and we'd all go
little
to
subgroups. But basically it was free food and swag.
They haven't done that in the last couple of years here, I don't think.
They did a retailer conference.
Well, they have, but I don't think they did it this year, and I'm not sure if they did.
No, it was this year. I remember reading it. They did it this year. I think it was the day before, and it was just Diamond only. And the con itself wasn't open. You would just go into McCormick Place, and that's where you go to the con, the Diamond retailer thing. They had a couple individual announcements. Other companies broke up into sections, and then they send you off to get something to eat and go, okay, come back and talk to Joe Smith, who works for Brainstorm Comics or whatever.
Well, at the retailer conference here, usually what they do is they will, at some point, the different companies will have a breakout session where you can do the DC panel or the Marvel panel or whatever indie image or Dark Horse.
So whatever big news is going
whoever decides to show up.
Whatever they were going to announce, to everyone else during the panels, you knew what they were going to announce before it happened because they were telling you, this is the stuff we're going to announce.
And this year, the Marvel Retailer Conference
Yeah.
It got busy.
It got tense. It
busy.
got a little weird.
Well, a retailer conference, by its very name, is retailers.
Yeah.
Not the general public, although if you want to bring a friend with.
Yeah.
Like I brought you to retailer
Yeah, you get an
conferences
extra
in the
pass,
past.
you just go there and you show up. Yeah.
Yeah, I brought you to retailer conference.
Yeah, they don't give a crap about that.
You're technically not a dealer, but
Yeah.
you're with me, so you're guests, so you're there too. But it's a retailer conference, so it's primarily retailers, primarily New York City, or I would assume East Coast retailers.
Yeah, and I think they did a retailer conference. Las Vegas is a con too. They did one there, and they did one in San Diego, and I think they might do one before.
Now, the big story, the reason this thing broke apart and exploded, sort of, was you had a bunch of irate dealers down there who had decided that instead of sitting there and watching Marvel do a slideshow about all the great stuff that's coming up that we ought to buy.
Yeah, buy this, please, because that's basically what they're there for. Hi, this is the stuff you need to buy. Oh, hi, you want these ash cans? Here, have a bunch of these ash cans. You know, people, they were getting the, like the Doomsday Clock thing they were handing out. That'd be something you'd get at a retailer conference. Yeah, but you would get they'd probably give you the lenticular cover for Mortal Legacy. Here, have a couple of these. So this is one made specifically just for you.
Well, retailer conferences, generally speaking, in the past have been a fairly pointless affair because what they do is they essentially break down into
why aren't you selling my crap?
Well, this time, yeah, but a great big room with DC at the front, big slide projector or Marvel or whoever at the front, and they welcome you there. Thanks for coming. Here's what's in the previews catalog that's coming out next week.
Yes, like
be sure to buy everything that you possibly can that we're about to show you. And then from there, the conference goes to like a 40-minute slideshow where they basically just read out previews telling you, here's what's coming out.
Or they go, this is coming up in a couple months. This is stuff we're going to announce. And then they go, okay, you want a Q&A session? And you get a Q&A session.
Then afterwards it's a Q&A session.
At the Marvel retail thing, the Q&A sessions when all hell broke loose.
Because there are a lot of retailers across the country who aren't making any money right now. And they're not making any money, not because they're bad retailers, because the product is sort of stinky.
Some of them are bad retailers. Let's be realistic.
Well, yeah.
Some.
Well, no. Let me tell you something.
But there are a lot of smart retailers out there. The biggest problem with this convention was not the retailers in general. It was a couple retailers who the other retailers are like, "Why don't you shut up? Because you're making us look stupid."
Well, some of the retailers weren't exactly following Emily Post and Robert's Rules of Order.
They were obnoxious pieces of crap.
Well.
They also got confrontational.
Not to put too fine a point on it.
Yeah, they were overtly confrontational during and also afterwards when David Gabriel, the VP in charge of sales, was out there. They were going up to him and pointing his finger in his face, and they were cussing him out in the middle of the hallway.
David Gabriel has gone on record as saying that people don't want any diversity
in
their books
year.
anymore.
Yeah, he said that last year. He said, we're doing this, and all of a sudden people say, it's not selling. But you said you wanted it, but it's not selling.
And diversity is the crux of the problem, at least as far as retailers are concerned, with why the books aren't selling right now. And I am not on the fence on this issue. I buy into part of it, but not all of it. Yes, I do believe that one of the reasons the books aren't selling anymore is people come in the door and they're looking for Tony Stark Iron Man, and you have your choice between Dr. Doom Iron Man or Riri Williams Iron Man. Well, where's Tony Stark? Well, he's not in the book right now.
Tony Stark is dead.
Well, he's dead. How long? Well, and most comic book fans go, well, how long is he planning on staying dead?
Well, and you walk and you go, well, never. Nobody ever really dies in comics.
Well, no, but when will he be coming back?
Yeah,
because while this Doctor Doom concept is interesting, I have no interest in Riri Williams. Now, not that there's not an audience out there for Riri Williams, and this is the big problem I have with Marvel with this. This is Marvel not being able to chew gum and walk at the same time. DC has solved this problem for generations, it seems like. If DC wants to do a female Batman, they call her Batwoman. She gets her own book, and they run it. You don't replace Batman with Batwoman, cancel Batman, and when somebody comes in looking for Batman, say, well, here's your Batman. That's a woman. I know it's a woman. It's Batman. Batman's not a man. Batman's a man, not a woman. I want the real Batman. Well, we're not doing the real Batman. We have no Batman today.
Right. Batman is on vacation.
We have female Batmans. Now, the flip side of that is anything that broadens the market, I am all for. If you want to do a black Iron Man, great. If you want to do a black female Iron Man, that's great. If you want to do a black, Hispanic, gay, Protestant Iron Man, that's fine. You can have an army of Iron Men if you want, but people are walking in the door looking for Tony Stark. Give them Tony Stark 2 in addition to all these other ones.
But what a lot of these retailers seem to have forgotten is James Rhodes was Iron Man.
Yes, he was, but you know what? He was James Rhodes
because
in the costume.
Right.
doing Iron Man stuff.
Right.
And that worked. It was, you know what it was? It was just like Sam Wilson being Captain America.
Yeah.
Except, of course, different storyline, different period, but essentially it was the same thing.
The thing about the Sam Wilson thing is, Sam Wilson was wearing a Captain America costume, and Steve Rogers was wearing a Captain America costume. You want Steve Rogers? Buy that book. They're written by the same guy.
Well, Sam Wilson as Captain America never made any sense to me because he doesn't have the super soldier formula. If you don't have the super soldier formula, then how can you be Captain America?
Well, neither did.
I mean, that's like somebody putting on a Superman costume with no powers and saying, "Hi, I'm taking Superman's place. I'm Superman." Well, isn't that cute?
But you always forget a certain thing. I mean, what people forget about the death of Captain America was this: when Brubaker did that, Bucky became Captain America. That wasn't a plan to go on that long.
Yeah, but
it got popular, and so it kept going.
Yeah, but
then they were smart enough to go, okay, in the back of their minds, and they probably knew this all along, we're going to bring back Steve Rogers. We already know we're going to do that. And the same thing with Captain America now. You go to Mark Waid. You know, if you need something to be fixed, you go to Mark Waid. Mark Waid comes in, this is the character, okay, bye, he's here. See ya. So you have one Captain America with legacy, and the Falcon's back to being the Falcon.
Yeah.
That's it.
But I never thought Falcon was a good fit as Captain America. Part of the problem with having Falcon as Captain America is you lose the Falcon when you make the Falcon Captain America. There is no Falcon out there anymore.
Yeah,
so you lose you lose not just one character, you essentially lose two characters. You've lost Cap, even if you buy into Falcon, you know, Sam Wilson being Captain America, you lose Cap and you lose the Falcon. So it's basically a net loss of two instead of an addition of one.
But at a certain level, at a certain point, you were kind of stuck. Okay, when Steve Rogers wasn't Captain America, you picked Bucky. When Bucky's not Captain America, you had to pick somebody.
Yeah, but the Winter Soldier, the death of Captain America you're talking about, that's something Brubaker had planned when he brought Bucky back.
Oh, Brubaker.
I mean, that was a long start. I'm bringing Bucky back. Why am I bringing Bucky back? Because I'm killing Cap in about 15 issues, and I ain't going to tell you
And I'm bringing Bucky back because, and I remember when he said he was going to do this, he had to sell Tom Brevoort on the idea. He goes, no, I have a plan.
And that's part of the thing. And that's part of the thing that pisses a lot of people off with the diversity, and I'm doing air quotes, quote unquote, with the diversity Marvel's doing. There is no plan. We're doing it. Here it is. Take it or leave it. There's not like some grand exit strategy with this. We're getting rid of the Hulk, and we're bringing in the Korean Hulk. And that's what you have to live with. Well, it's not like at some point down the road, then something will happen, and Bruce Banner will have to come back and will have to be the Hulk because we've got this long, drawn-out story arc planned that'll take 3 years. It's just, here you go, eat it, shut up. We're gonna get.
Even at that, it's a long-term plan. Charles Soule's writing what's it? Astonishing X-Men. Whatever. Astonishing X-Men is basically a 12-issue maxi series.
It is.
Yeah.
Good to know.
I
assumed it was ongoing.
He's the guy who's going to be the one who officially brings Wolverine back. So legacy spoilers notwithstanding, we don't know if that's Logan.
So our monthly X books consist of Blue, Gold, and Astonishing, but Astonishing's a maxi series.
Saul's going to do 12 issues and he's going to leave. Now they can keep it going after that.
Okay, that's different.
But his idea was I bumped them off. That's it. I mean, like you've got X-Men Gold, X-Men Blue. Uncanny X-Men's coming back, so one of those books is going to turn into Uncanny X-Men.
Yeah.
So I mean, all this stuff's coming back. That's the entire concept of the legacy. There is a long-term plan there. It's like, okay, this is legacy. This leads into this. This will lead into something else. The legacy sets up a whole new thing. All your heroes are back. So you're like, okay, so all the heroes are back.
Getting back to the retailer conference, because I want to wrap it up before we get to the other news and put a bow on it. Some of the words that were thrown around
weren't very happy.
They weren't very happy, but they weren't like all that bad. I mean, it's not what you think was thrown around. The words "freaking female,"
"homo,"
"black," and "homo" were thrown. Well, "homo," would definitely be the most incendiary of the bunch. But I assume that "black" still isn't in the "don't say" category.
Well, those are the words that we've gotten that they're actually reporting. Since there's no audio of this thing, we're assuming there's probably a couple more words that are
being New York City retailers.
Yeah, well, we don't. Like I said, we don't know where these retailers are from. What we do know is that these are older retailers, more established retailers,
like me.
Yeah, like you. And what happened when these guys started making these comments was, it was like 2 or 3 guys. It's 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah.
The rest of the room turned on them.
Yeah.
They were like, "What are you doing?"
And again,
it's like you're making us look bad.
Like I said, I have no problem with diversity. My problem is you can have both. You can have diversity and legacy at the same time. You can do both. There's no reason why you can't do both.
The thing that was really cute about this is I got a friend on Facebook named William Binderup. I guess he owns a comic book shop. He says, and when he heard about the whole thing, he goes, "This is why I don't go to these anymore."
I stopped going to them a while back only because they're pointless.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to read previews to me? I can read previews myself.
Yeah, I can read my own previews.
One other thing,
I can look online and get the panel results. I don't need you to tell me that.
Two of the characters they were bitching about mostly were the female Thor, which actually is one of the better selling Marvel
Jason
books.
Aaron's doing
and is actually quite good.
Yeah, Jason Aaron's doing a hell of a job on it.
Is actually quite good. There's nothing wrong with the female Thor book, although it'd be nice to see Odin's son come back.
He is.
Well, yeah, I mean, but come back.
Yeah, I mean, we're assuming it was. Well, there's an in out there. Jane Foster's Thor. Well, Jane Foster's dying.
Spoiler warning: Jane Foster's not long for this world.
Well, and that was a given because you found out first you didn't know who the new Thor was. You found out it was Jane Foster, and the first thing he told you was she's got cancer and she's dying.
Yeah, well, that sort of intimates that.
Yeah,
you're on
yeah.
And Iceman.
When they did the whole thing about the time displaced Iceman, the time displaced Iceman basically said, "Oh, by the way, I'm gay."
An Iceman book is not going to make or break any retailer.
No.
Iceman, I would put on the same level as a book like America.
Yeah.
Or even though its sales are like a third of it, Jean Grey.
Yeah. Jean
okay, it's a secondary.
Yeah, it's a secondary book.
Secondary book.
It's
never going to do primary book numbers.
It's a complementary book.
People are upset about Iceman being gay. He came out during
Bendis revealed him.
Yeah,
the time displacement was gay, and you had the younger version, you had the current version. The current version is like what?
But the bitch I keep hearing from people is all he does in the book is talk about and whine about being gay all the time,
and he doesn't spend all his time whining about being gay.
Okay, but
he hasn't kissed a guy yet. They're on like issue 6.
Part of the problem with diversity is when you start wearing it on your sleeve, you run into having problems with storytelling. Then you're not storytelling; you're grinding an axe.
Yeah,
and nobody wants to pick up a book where you're grinding an axe, except of course people who have the same axe to grind.
Well, Cena Grace, who's writing the book, very little of that book is spent on him being gay. It's like he's gay. Okay, well we're going to move on now. So we're moving on now. You know, I mean, the biggest thing that he did lately is the fact that his parents basically go, "Okay, you're gay. We're having well, first we had problems with you being a mutant, but you're gay. Okay, well we'll just handle it. It's cool."
I would think
not a big a deal.
I would think that the biggest storytelling options there would be, well, which am I if I'm a parent, which am I more upset about, that you're a mutant or that you're gay? And that you can turn your body into ice, or that you're in love with other men.
And for all you X-Men movie fans, the whole thing about his parents freaking out that he was a mutant, that came from the movie.
Yeah. Okay. I want to wrap this up with G. Willow Wilson has a quote. She's a writer.
Yes.
Who wants a legacy when the legacy is shitty? Well, I've got news for you, dear. The legacy isn't shitty. It's shitty writers that make it shitty. In and of itself, it's not shitty. It's kept the industry going for the last 60 years.
Yeah, but what she's generally complaining about is this. If you're complaining about legacy characters, she doesn't work on any legacy characters. She's a novelist. She's written books that actually sell pretty well. She's the writer on Miss Marvel, and Miss Marvel is a book that is never going to be. How many copies do you sell of Miss Marvel?
Twice as many as I sell of America, which ain't many.
Well, what do you think of it? So Miss Marvel is Miss Marvel,
and I would love to sell more.
The new Miss Marvel is a. She's a Muslim character.
She's Muslim with shape-changing powers,
she got
flight, super strength.
Yeah, she got all that stuff. And that book in itself, that book's not supposed to sell 75 copies a month. That's one of those books, and every company's got one of these. There's certain books with certain characters where they go, look, it's going to sell 20, 25 copies. We don't care. That's why Doctor Strange keeps coming back. You know, so we don't care. This is a book that we in the offices, who work in the building, this is a book that we like. So if you want to buy it, it's cool.
You're talking about Doctor Strange. Historically, Doctor Strange has always been a B character and always sold B numbers.
Yeah.
Which, if you don't know, B numbers mean if Amazing Spider-Man is your top seller, Doctor Strange normally would sell probably somewhere in the area of a third to a half of whatever Spider-Man's numbers are, depending on story arcs and writers and artists.
If you're selling 75 copies of Doctor Strange, you're probably selling 75 copies of Spider-Man. You're probably selling 20 to 25 copies of Doctor Strange. That's because he's Doctor Strange. Now, the movie coming out changes all that.
Yeah.
And the run with Jason Aaron and Chris Bacalo flipped that on its head because he went, I got an idea. And he went, go for it.
Well, Doctor Strange goes from being a secondary character to a primary character,
to a big character
by the fact that he has a movie that comes out that makes almost $1 billion.
Right, I got a movie.
Same thing happens with Guardians of the Galaxy.
And that's what makes you a major character.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
I got a movie that made a buttload of money. How you doing?
You go from a C-level team that most Marvel fans, if you held a gun to your head, could only give you 1 or 2 names of the Guardians of the Galaxy. Then a movie comes out,
go,
makes $1 billion, and all of a sudden they're Guardians of the Galaxy books everywhere for years.
People before the Guardians came out was like, who the hell are the Guardians of the Galaxy?
Yeah. Okay. Moving on, there was other Marvel news. Weekly Avengers. There is going to be 3 months worth of what is essentially a weekly Avengers book. Now
it's a weekly. It's
now it's a little misleading. It's a little misleading because it's
a mini event.
It's the books that are already in print.
Yeah.
Avengers is practically a weekly book anyway. Yeah. But they're going to take the books that are out there now and do a week to week to week to week connecting story.
It's a 3-month event. Every month they'll have. I think Mark Waid and certain artists are going to do the first month. Another artist is going to do, another writer and artist is going to do the second month, and another writer artist is going to do the third month.
Yeah, but what that means is Avengers will be, let's say Avengers is part 1.
Yeah.
Next week's Uncanny Avengers would be part 2.
Part 2.
And then the week after that
would be part 3. Yeah.
Whatever would be part 3.
You're going to go for 16 issues.
Yeah.
And a lot of the stuff that happened in Legacy was shipped a couple of weeks ago. A lot of the little beats that have popped up there about the Avengers, that little 16-week event, a lot of stuff's going to be in there. Yeah. So if you think if you go, wow, this is interesting, like the 10,000 BC Avengers, with a million BC, that'll be in there.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay.
So what Marvel is doing essentially is what DC has been doing for quite some time now with Superman and Batman and the other books. In that you have one long story that runs from book to book to book to book, but the book comes out every other week. So the stories move a lot faster.
Yeah, when people announced it, people were telling Tom Brevoort, the guy who runs it, I thought you weren't doing events. He goes, this is an event. That didn't mean we weren't going to do little interior storylines.
Right.
So this is, and they said this is the first of probably a few. There's going to be a couple other books that are going to be like this.
Yeah. Well, Marvel's done this before. They'll do big events. Yeah. And they'll do a bunch of big events, and people will get event fatigue.
Yeah.
Marvel say, okay, we're not going to do any events for a year and a half. In the meantime, though, you're going to get mini events until we get to the next major event. Shadowland.
Yeah.
Shadowland was a Daredevil event. It took place in the Daredevil universe, and a couple of crossovers.
There were a couple of crossovers because people went, "What the heck's wrong with Hell's Kitchen?"
but it wasn't a event. It wasn't Civil War. It wasn't Secret Empire. It wasn't Secret Wars.
No.
It was a much smaller event, but it encompassed all of the Daredevil universe plus a bunch of other, quote unquote, Marvel Knights characters.
Yeah, who are all out in the same genre. Basically, the Netflix characters. Those are the Marvel Knights.
But that was years before Netflix. Okay. And one more Marvel story I'm going to talk, and this is spoiler warning, folks. This is the part where you might want to skip over because we're going to talk about Marvel Legacy. And if you haven't read it yet, some of the stuff is going to be a giveaway. If you haven't read it, the first thing it does is it introduces the Avengers of 1 million BC.
1 million BC Avengers.
And the Avengers of 1 million BC are exactly what it sounds like. It's essentially prehistory / or prehistoric.
It's the first incarnation of all of these Avengers.
Versions of the Avengers. So if you think of Thor and the Avengers, Thor would be Odin on this Avengers. If you think of Jean Grey's Phoenix,
Phoenix Force.
The Phoenix Force inhabits someone, and that person is on this team.
The first Black Panther's on this team.
Starbrand's
on this team. Starbrand's a character, when we read it, when it came out, we were like, okay, it's kind of interesting. But it was actually one of the smartest parts of the New Universe thing. And then Jonathan Hickman went, I like that. He sort of did what Bendis did with Luke Cage. I kind of like him. I'm going to keep using him.
Yeah. And the reason that they're there in the beginning of the book is it sets up that the Celestials, Jack Kirby concept from the Eternals, which I think Marvel can roll into a movie whenever they want to.
Yes,
that is not anything that's covered over at Fox.
Oh, no, it's not. It has never been an option.
They can do the Eternals and the Celestials and all that. They can roll it in whenever they want. But you get a primer in there about the whole Celestials, Deviants, Eternals, Humans thing.
The hosts and all those.
The hosts and their judgment on humanity. And apparently they're judging humanity yet again.
Yes.
I was talking to Bo about this. I thought they did that already. I thought we'd done the story arc where the Celestials judged humanity.
I guess.
And I thought this was in Thor.
I guess we were cool then. We're not cool now.
Great. Well, thanks a lot, whoever screwed that up.
Yeah, we're not cool now. Someone did something wrong, and that's why you're getting the whole return of it. Spoiler warning. Yes.
Okay. Whoa. Here's the big spoiler part, folks. There are 3 characters who make their return in Legacy.
Yes.
Okay. First one has been dead for about 5 years now.
Yeah.
Okay, and he is
Wolverine.
Wolverine Logan.
Well,
Logan.
a Wolverine. We don't know if it's Logan. He just popped.
Well, you assume it looks just like Logan.
We assume it's him. Yeah, we assume it's him.
And he's carrying
an Infinity Stone.
It's like,
why would he carry an Infinity Stone?
Well, he's dead.
Yeah,
he's alive.
Yeah.
He's got an Infinity Stone. Yeah. He looks at it and he goes, "What a pair we make." So you're assuming the Infinity Stone had something to do with him coming back to life. Also, at the end of the issue, you have 2 members of the Fantastic Four returning, and as I told someone in the store this week, it is not the 2 that you want.
No.
But it's 2 members of the Fantastic Four that return. It's Franklin and Valeria.
Yeah.
They are out exploring multiverses with Mom and Dad.
Which is what Mom and Dad went out for. So they're dead. No, they weren't dead. They went off to explore the world and find new universes. That was kind of made clear by Hickman.
Yeah.
They didn't die. They're just gone.
Now, you don't see Reed and Sue in this, but you do see Franklin and Valeria.
Yeah, you see Franklin and Valeria, and the actions of Legacy will lead into the new Marvel 2-in-1 book, which will have Ben and Johnny, and apparently Victor Von Doom, trying to find out exactly why Reed and Sue were off in exploring the multiverses, and probably seeing exactly what this big threat is, because you've also got the Return of the Phoenix. Mm-hmm. Why is the Phoenix back? The Phoenix shows up in Earth-shattering events. The Celestial is the Earth-shattering event, so you need a Phoenix to come back.
Well, Phoenix is coming back. Yeah. The adult Jean Grey.
Yes.
Is coming. The adult Jean Grey, which is different from the
teenage one running around now.
Yeah. Right. This is the one that burst out of the shuttle in Uncanny 101 that got killed in 137.
Mm-hmm. And bumped off in the movie.
And bumped off in a movie. It'll probably be bumped off in a movie again if we all live long enough. And it'll probably be just as unsatisfying in that movie as it was the first time around. But
that would
that's
depend on
Fox.
how long Sansa Stark was to do X-Men movies.
Yeah, but that's that Phoenix Force and the Starbrand. That's from the new universe. And that brings us back to diversity, which actually does circle back this.
Jonathan Hickman, during his long form storyline, his long form Avengers plan, he's the one who brought Starbrand back, because he looked in the universe and said, the stuff in here that I know people think it's crap. Some of the stuff in the new universe was actually pretty good. That's
what I was getting at. The new universe was a totally separate line of comics, sort of like Vertigo is over at DC. It was a totally separate line of comics that Marvel did back in the mid '80s, where they wanted to start a quote unquote new universe.
They started a brand new universe, and so you had Starbrand, you had Night Mask, you had Justice, and you had
Kickers Inc.,
which is the suckiest book of the group, but we knew that when it came out.
And you had Merc,
which was basically a generic version of the Punisher.
That lasted a couple of years. It went nowhere. It didn't catch fire like Marvel hoped it would, and ultimately they killed it. But the Starbrand...
and what was it, X-Force? Z-Force? There was some Round team-up book in there, too.
Yeah, there was. I can't remember...
It was something.
Yeah,
Enforce or something.
Something. It was something. Dark Force.
No, it wasn't Dark Force. It was something else.
Okay. But you can look at that universe, since it was a totally separate entity.
Yeah.
That was Marvel trying to diversify their line. Now, not in any sort of ethnic or religious or any other way, but they were trying to creatively diversify the line.
The creative teams in those books was actually pretty big. John Romita Jr. did Starbrand.
Yeah.
Peter David did Justice, which actually was a pretty underrated book. These are all big deal creators who worked on those books. These are writer-wise. The art-wise, it was just okay. But these are a lot of big deals. This was a big plan. This was a Jim Shooter plan.
No, I wouldn't be for them diversifying by ghettoizing the characters they've made now, because it's essentially what the new universe was.
Well, the new universe was this is not the regular Marvel universe you're used to, but these are all brand new characters who have no connection to the Marvel universe we know. They were all created by this thing called the White Event.
Yeah.
And all these characters popped up. And then John Hickman, this said years ago, I like that idea. I'm going to take him, and I'm going to take Darkhawk, and I'm going to take Night Mask, and I'm going to bring these back into my Avengers run. And Darkhawk and Starbrand's been around ever since.
And it didn't really work out, but that part of it was fans were just totally resistant to it back then. They just didn't want to buy into that concept.
No. And then a couple of them...
Jim Shooter's the one who came up
with the entire idea, and some of them lasted like 2 years.
Yeah, well, Starbrand was the one that came back.
That's not a good idea. Let's use that.
Okay, that's the Marvel news section of the show. As advertised, we're going to do DC, but I want to stop a moment and remind all of you that the alternate reality is coming from Alternate Reality, which is located at the intersection of 111th and Kedzie in beautiful downtown Mount Greenwood. Alternate Reality, where all new comics have been 15% off every day for everyone. Hey, New Comic Wednesday starts at 7 a.m. at Alternate Reality. Everything is up and ready to go. Come on in and pick up your new books at 7 a.m. if you're up then, and if you're in the neighborhood. Stop on by. That's when my day begins, 7 a.m. on Wednesdays.
If you want a book you think is going to sell out, show up on Wednesday.
But yeah, because they start at 7 a.m.
Yeah.
And by 3 o'clock, if it's a hot book, it's
gone.
probably gone by 3 o'clock.
Or get a subscription.
Yeah, we do
easier.
subscriptions at the store. We've been doing them for the last 23 years. I want to get into DC news. The big news coming out of the New York City Comic Con was Doomsday Clock.
Well, more details were revealed.
Well, more details about it. We all know about it. It was on. Yeah, it was in last month's previews.
They
but
gave
more
away.
details.
They gave away an oversized ash can of the first 5 pages.
Now he gave you one date that is important in the real world and is important in the Doomsday Clock world, and that is November 22nd of 2017. That's the day that Doomsday Clock #1 goes on sale. November.
And that's because Jeff Johns said no. He would always, as a kid, as a comic reader, always look forward to the day before Thanksgiving when there were very few comics coming out, but it was usually something that was a big deal.
No, and the day before Thanksgiving is usually a pretty good shipping day. It's when you get down to Christmas, New Year's. Yeah, that's when you start having trouble. You get to the point and go, how many books did you have this week? 6. 6? Yeah, it's just 6. Yeah, but Johns would look forward to that because he's either out of school or he's home from school. He's been away at college. But comics come out on Wednesday. Yeah. Thanksgiving is Thursday. So you go in and you buy the books.
He couldn't wait at that point, maybe not to the local comic book shop. He couldn't wait to run to the newsstand or whatever store he bought his comics, the drugstore, because he knew there'd be a whole bunch of cool stuff, and he had all day Thanksgiving to read the comics.
Yeah. So now November 22nd is also an important date because 11/22/1992, and that is the date of the death of Superman. That is the actual date that the comic shipped that had the death of Superman in it. The black bag. How many copies can I get? I hear Superman died. If I save this for a year, will I be able to buy myself a new car with it?
No.
That death of Superman.
No, you weren't.
Well,
because everyone bought the damn thing.
Most people have found that out by now.
Most people bought that out the next week.
But 11/22/92 is the death of Superman, and apparently they're using that same date in this story.
Yeah.
Death of Superman, that's going to wind up being an important date for some reason in Watchmen. Now, one of the things they're saying is the death of Superman heralded in the darkness in the DC universe, although Dark Knight did too.
Yeah, Dark Knight did too, and I'm trying to think of what was the date on the newspaper in that last issue of Watchmen. It might be the same date.
No, it wasn't 1992. It was the mid 80s. Yeah. Watchmen took place in the mid 80s, 86, I think.
But yeah, the last page of Watchmen though, this is a kid reading the newspaper in the newsstand. And everything's going.
Well, that's one of the things. In that storyline, Rorschach returns. Yeah. Now, if you've read Watchmen, or seen the Watchmen movie, Rorschach does not get out of the end of Watchmen.
No, he does not.
Yeah, big spoiler warning, folks. No. Watchmen die. Rorschach dies at the end of Watchmen.
He dies at the end of Watchmen.
But Rorschach is in this book.
Yeah.
Now, who's in the Rorschach costume?
That's a good question, and. Someone's hinting that there's going to be a Rorschach limited series.
Yeah.
Jason Fabak is, and I forget who the writer was. They posted stuff on their Twitter pages about something which looks like Rorschach coming out of snow and from the dead.
Yeah.
Because apparently there are going to be some Watchmen limited series coming out after Doomsday Clock is over.
One theory I've heard, and I don't put any credence in this, but one theory I've heard is the kid at the end of Watchmen who's sitting there with Rorschach's journal, eating a greasy cheeseburger at the comic book store. Yeah. It was a comic book store or bookstore?
It was a
newsstand.
He's sitting in a newsstand.
He's the new Rorschach, but I don't put any credence in that. I don't think it's going to be that obvious.
It's entirely possible. We don't know.
Now, also in this miniseries, you're going to see Luthor and Asmodeus together.
The two smartest men in the world.
The two smartest men in two universes together. So nothing good will come of that.
Oh, it's going to be something horrible. Luthor will be like, "Oh, you have better hair than I do. I don't have any hair. You're evil."
The overall concept behind Watchmen is, did the Watchmen, specifically Dr. Manhattan, is he responsible for the DC universe going dark since essentially Dark Knight?
Yeah.
Or Death of Superman, depending on how you look at it.
Depending on how you want to go.
Yeah. So that's one of the big stories that came out from DC. Another story.
No, was it DC Rebirth?
Well, Rebirth is ending.
Yeah, that little header. Yeah, the little header in your comics, that's going away.
Now they're not changing the numbers on the book.
No, the numbers
they're just changing the trade dress.
Yeah, the trade dress is gone.
They're taking Rebirth off.
Yeah.
They're going to broaden the top of the comic so that the title goes up a little higher. Yeah. And they're going to box. If you remember Marvel's back in the 60s, it's going to sort of look like that. They're going to have a box on the upper left corner of the DC books that says DC Universe, I think. And then whatever the issue number is and all the other stuff is going to be dumped into that box. And it's going to be a long rectangular box.
Yeah, so the Rebirth era is over with.
Yeah, it's coming to an end.
It's
not over with yet, but it's
coming to an end.
End of the year, I think.
Yeah.
End of the year. Now, like I said, the books will continue.
Yeah.
And the numbering's going to continue. They're not going to kill everything it started with.
No. In fact, when Superman 700 comes out, I think
800.
Yeah, 800 comes out. The book's probably like 4,000 pages or something.
Yeah.
It's going to be the size of a phone book.
It's going to be some ridiculous amount.
It's going to be massive. And there's a Siegel Schuster story that's going to be in it.
And, well, will he have underwear or won't he?
We don't know.
Will he have his trunks or won't he?
The cover's already been leaked. So.
Yeah, I know. I've seen the cover.
Yeah.
He's not wearing his underwear.
Yeah, but then again, there's a whole bunch of stories in there, so we don't know.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure something in there will have him in his tighties, his red tighties. Also, one universe at DC that is being reborn is Vertigo.
Even Vertigo's being reborn.
Well, when did they kill Vertigo? They haven't killed Vertigo, but you know what?
If you look at support,
if you look at their output, you'd swear to God they're getting ready to pull the plug out.
Was it 3 books now?
I got into it on Facebook with Jamie Rich,
who used to run Omni Press, and I guess, but he started out at DC. He went over to run Omni Press, and I guess he's wandered back in there because Vertigo's getting a new editor, Mark Doyle, who was the editor for all the Batman books.
Yeah. Well, I had a brief back and forth with him on somebody else's page, where I was basically saying it looks like DC is killing Vertigo again. This was just before they made the announcement that there's going to be a big explosion of books coming. Not now, not in the first quarter.
No. But
sometime in the middle to the end of the second quarter of next year.
It'll be the 25th anniversary of Vertigo.
And they're going to have 8 to 10 titles.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of them will be miniseries.
A lot of them will be miniseries. A couple of which were announced. The plan is for them to have big name writers and artists working on it. Now, I've never heard any big names. I know Jim Lee did a Sandman print.
Yeah.
And the books that they've announced so far, I'm like, I don't see any big names. So I'm assuming these people are waiting. Will it be the big names you're used to? No. Those people are all working over at Image.
Well, this isn't the first time DC's almost killed Vertigo. Back before the New 52, Vertigo's output had dwindled down to a trickle, where there was almost nothing coming out. And it looked for all the world like they're getting ready to kill the imprint because they weren't publishing anything.
You've gotten to the point at that point where Vertigo was publishing books from people who were okay but not big-name writers.
Yeah.
What made Vertigo a big deal was all the Brits working on the books. Well, all those Brits went off and left and went somewhere else. And Vertigo's been floundering ever since. Jason Aaron was hanging out at Vertigo, and they basically did something to annoy the crap out of him. So he goes, I'm going to Marvel. Screw you. Bye.
Well, previous to this, you had the Vertigo where you had titles like Transmetropolitan and Preacher and DMZ and Northlanders and Fables and, what else? Losers.
Yeah. You had 100 bullets.
Okay, 100 bullets.
Yeah.
100 bullets. There you go.
Which at some point will be a movie with Tom Hardy, probably before I dropped dead.
You had titles like that made up the core of the Vertigo line.
And Why the Last Man?
Why the Last Man from the mid '90s through the mid to late 2000s, 2008, 2009. Fables continued on for a couple of years after that, but by that point, just about every title that we mentioned had wrapped itself up and ended, but it wasn't replaced by anything.
No, it was replaced.
As a matter of fact, it looked like they were just running out the clock with Fables, and then they were going to shut the lights out.
Fables was going for a while, and what happened with Brian Wood, who was working on independent stuff, he came in and did DMZ and all stuff like that. He was brought in to replace bigger names. He was Warren Ellis, basically said, "Okay, I'm done. I'm going somewhere else. I'm going to do some independent stuff. I'm going to work at Marvel. I'm going to do some stuff over at Wildstorm. I'm going to do whatever I want to do. I don't want to hang out here." Azzarello went, "Okay, I'm going to go over here and do some freelance stuff here and there, but then I'm going to go over to Image and do my stuff." So all these guys left, and so some of the people who came in were fine. The problem is when those guys left, there was nobody there to replace them.
Well, and that's the problem. A lot of the folks that could have replaced them left and went over to Image.
Yeah.
And
they did the same with Jeff Lemire. Jeff Lemire was basically ensconced in an exclusive contract with DC, and all of a sudden he just said, "I'm leaving." He went away.
Yeah, DC let him. And a lot of what happened with Vertigo was self-inflicted on DC's part because it looked like they wanted to shut the brand down and just have the DC universe. Wildstorm had already died before this. Now, back then, I was talking about the output got down to a trickle. Mm-hmm. At some point, somebody got a hold of the hierarchy at DC and said, "This Vertigo line, what are you doing with it?" "Oh, nothing. We're thinking about maybe shutting it down." "The hell you are. You know how much money we make off of this thing?"
We make a lot of money off this. We're still getting money from the Sandman option, even though the movie probably would never happen.
And then all of a sudden, back then, Vertigo, back sometime around the time of New 52, had a new rebirth. And that was when Astro City was shepherded over from Wildstorm, which they had just killed, into Vertigo. and they came up with a bunch of new books. Yeah. Sussex County was one of them, and a bunch of others, and that's what they've been running with. And right now, the output at Vertigo, I pulled out the last 3 previews and looked this up, is essentially 3 books. Yeah. You've got American Way, Astro City, both of which were from Wildstorm. Neither one of them was Vertigo.
Yeah, those were Wildstorm books.
And you had Savage Things up until about a week or two ago.
But Savage Things was a limited series in the beginning.
The limited series ended, and now you've got the Fiends thing. I forget. I can't think of the name of it. Something Fiends, I think it is. My Best Fiend.
No. Well, that's one of the books that's coming in. That's one of the books written by Tim Seeley.
Well, that's a miniseries that's replacing the Departing miniseries.
Yeah, and you had a bunch of miniseries. You had Gail Simone do the Clean Room. You had a couple, but all those books ended because they were cute, but they were boutique projects and they didn't work. And the biggest problem, and one of the biggest problems with Vertigo was the fact that you had Karen Berger running the line, who was Paul Levitt's girlfriend. She left, around the time Levitz left. You had Shelley Bond, who was doing Black Crown for IDW. She left, and so there was no one there who knew what the hell to do with Vertigo.
Yeah.
So then they looked over at Mark Dole and go, well, you're doing a good job running the Batman stuff. Why don't you come in and do it? And so he's like, okay, well, since I get here, why don't I turn this into something again where people actually give a crap? Vertigo readers, when Vertigo line popped up, drawing people to stores who didn't read comics.
Yeah.
And, they came in to get that stuff and they might buy other stuff. And Vertigo, and a lot of the Vertigo stuff sold relatively decently in comic shops, but bookstores sold Vertigo trades like crazy because people would say, I'm not going to a comic shop to buy this book, but I'll go into Barnes & Noble or Borders to buy this book.
Well, what I was talking about with Vertigo's products and previews, you got 3 comics and 3 to 4 trade paperbacks in
reprints of reprints
in the August, September, and the October issues of previews, and all of those trade paperbacks are recycled versions of trade paperbacks that have been in print for a long time. It's like hardcover versions of Northlanders. Remember Northlanders? Remember we did a soft covers? We're repackaging it as hardcover.
It's a hardcover.
It's a hardcover
because Brian Wood's over there, Dark Horse, doing the stuff he was doing over here at Vertigo.
I remember our volume 1 was 1 through 8, and volume 2 was 9 through 12. Well, the first volume is 1 through 15.
I mean, there was a point where I would get the previous catalog. I would look through it and I'd go, okay, this. It's a certain point with the Vertigo stuff, I'd go, I don't give a crap about this. Savage Things, I'm like, I don't care. And so I'd go, okay, well, I'm looking through and going, where the hell will the Vertigo stuff go? And some of the books just didn't look good.
Yeah,
they were poorly drawn. The people who were writing it were people that I heard of, but I'm like, the art of this book sucks.
Outside of Fables, which wrapped up during the run of this last rebirth to where we're at now, the big book out of Vertigo has been, and they haven't done it in a while, but has been American Vampire.
Yeah,
that was the big book.
Yeah,
and the big book for Vertigo traditionally usually is the numbers are a mid-range DC book, which is a middle to low-range Marvel book in terms of sales. What Vertigo did do was it dragged people in the door who have no interest in capes and tights, but are looking for Northlanders or DMZ or Why the Last Man.
They had heard of these books and went, well, I'm going to pick this up. Oh, hey, you got this? Oh, you got this.
And they would buy not just the comic, but then they'd also buy the trade paperback on top of that. And they were loyal to that one book. And if they found something else as that book was wrapping up, then they would be loyal to that book.
Or what's this guy writing next? What's Brian Wood writing next? Well, he did DMZ. He's writing Northlanders. Okay, I'll pick up Northlanders.
Well, all these people who no longer had homes at Vertigo back about 7, 8, 9 years ago, they all migrated over to Image.
They own Image.
Good luck getting them back because they own all those properties over there now. And the best example I can give you of that is Grant Morrison's Happy.
Yeah.
That should have been a Vertigo book. It's an Image book. It was a 5-issue miniseries, 5 or 6 issue miniseries. That for all the world should have been a Vertigo book, but by that point, Vertigo had no interest in publishing it.
Yeah.
And Grant Morrison looked at Image and Image said, "We'd be happy to publish it, and we'll let you keep the rights to it." Now that may sound nice, but the way that really pays off is there is a Happy TV series coming from Sci-Fi.
So Sci-Fi, Vertigo's not getting any money out of it.
And Vertigo's not getting any money out of it. And Image probably isn't getting much of anything in the way of money out of it.
Grant Morrison's getting most of the money.
But Grant Morrison's going to make a lot of money off of it. And don't tell me that folks like Brian Azzarello doesn't look at that and go, that could be me.
Well, and this is kind of how this works. Scott Snyder's a DC mainstay. But he's doing limited series for Image.
Yeah.
I'm doing American Vampire whenever he and Ralph Albuquerque get back to it over at Vertigo, but these books are all going over there at Image. Or After Death with him and Jeff Lemire. Those are Image books. He works for DC.
Before the current renaissance at Image always did a lot of indie books.
Yeah.
Most of the indie books they did were crappy.
Well, most of the indie books.
Not all of them. Not
Not all of them, but some were.
Image is still doing those books, but what they're also doing now are these books that should be at Vertigo, like Kill or Be Killed.
Kill or Be Killed.
Or,
it's in Brubaker.
Yeah, Brubaker. Or books like Spread.
Yeah.
Or books like Saga.
Yeah.
Or books like Paper Girls.
Yeah.
Those should have all been... 15 years ago, those all would have been Vertigo books.
Those all been Vertigo books. They were over in Image.
But today they're Image books, and the creators on all those books own those books still.
They belong to me.
They belong.
So I don't have to give you a dime.
So as far as where the talent pool is going to come from over at Vertigo for this rebirth, I mean, I'm sure that the people who are working on the books are going to be wonderful creators, and they've got great storylines. But time will tell, and ultimately the sales figures will tell.
They've got talent out there. The biggest problem they're going to have now is a couple of the new writers that are popping up, these up-and-coming writers. They've all signed Marvel exclusives in the last couple of months.
Well, there's that too.
Yeah, Donnie Cates, who was working on Baby Teeth for Aftershock, and I think he's working on some stuff for Image. He's a Marvel exclusive. Ed Brisson, he was working on independent stuff. He's now signing a Marvel exclusive. Marvel's doing what they always do. The guy works in independence. He works there for a while, and they go, we'll give you an exclusive contract. Now you can do limited series over at Image if you want to. We don't have a problem with that as long as you work on the mainstream thing.
Part of the contract is you need to get our book out on time.
You need to get out,
But once you're done writing our book, if you want to write this other Image
it's
book,
okay.
That's fine until you have to do the next issue of this book you're contracted for.
And DC has always had a problem with that. They don't sign those kind of contracts. They don't like that idea at all that you're working somewhere else. But some of the books that you're doing over at Image, they're not going to sell at DC. That's why they're at Image.
So there you go. I want to quickly go over the new Age of Heroes, which was also announced.
Yeah, it was Dark. Yes, it's a line that changed its name before it ever shipped. It was Dark Matter. Now it's called the New Age of Heroes.
Well, we're still in Dark Matter at this moment in time.
Yes.
Let's not confuse anybody. Yeah. We're still in Dark Matter because that storyline is storyline is still working its way through.
No. Well, the problem is the fact that the Dark Matter books have they been solicited yet?
I don't think they all have.
I
think the last issue of Dark Matter, the miniseries, is probably in this month's previews.
Yeah, but the Dark Matter line was something that they announced at San Diego, and they made a big deal about the fact that the Dark Matter books are going to be artist driven, and they showed this is the Dark Matter trade dress, and now that trade dress has been thrown in the garbage. Well, the Dark Matter stuff and now the Age of Heroes stuff. It's not really connected to the regular DC universe. It's kind of like off separately. It's kind of like Wildstorm is now. Warren Ellis's Wildstorm stuff is connected, smallly, but not majorly. Grant Morrison's actually came back. He's going to be co-writing whatever the book Dan DiDio's writing, probably because he wants the book to sell. Yeah. And you've got John Romita drawing the book, and you've got all these big name artists drawing it, and that's going to be an artist-driven line.
Well, some of the titles you got are The Curse of Brimstone. Yeah. It's written by Justin Jordan.
Curse of Brimstone.
Philip Tan's doing the art.
Yeah, The Curse of Brimstone with Philip Tan was just announced at the New York Con. That wasn't part of the original announcement.
Yeah.
Silencer was a part of the original announcement.
One of your favorites, The Terrifics.
Yeah, and actually, The Terrifics is cool because Tom Strong just joined The Terrifics, just makes the book interesting.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, he's in it? Okay, I'll buy it.
The Terrifics with Tom Strong.
Yeah.
So it's a Fantastic Four and Doc Savage thrown together.
Yeah, it's a no, and that's a book written by Jeff Lemire, who decided to come back to DC and hang out for a while.
The Sideways.
Sideways is a Dan DiDio written book. The first arc is written by Dan DiDio by himself. The second arc is co-written between him and Grant Morrison.
Okay, and you got The Unexpected.
That's
by Steve Orlando and Ryan Sook.
Yeah, it's a brand new book. Steve Orlando's the guy who's working on Supergirl, and Ryan Sook is a guy who was working for DC for a while and bounces all over the place. He's good for supernatural stuff. That was also a book announced at the New York Con. That was a brand new addition to the line. Those
are coming later this year, and they have something special on the trade dress.
Yeah, well, the covers are weird. The covers are actually going to fold out.
Yeah, the covers are going to fold out into fours.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a gatefold going across.
So it's going to be
take the cover,
it's going
to
be
top,
a poster,
the bottom,
yeah,
and then the side.
Yeah, the side will be an ad. The side will be an ad on the back of the book. But yeah, it'll be a poster. It'll be a long poster,
like a centerfold.
Yeah,
it'll be like a centerfold.
Yeah.
So you're going to imagine a typical comic book cover with another cover added on top and another cover added on the bottom.
Yeah. So it's not a wraparound. It's a wraparound cover, but it says the wraparound is basically you hold it up like you're looking at a Playboy centerfold.
That's it. That's the news for now. That means it must be time for the Rorschach test.
Chicken, pizza, snacks.
The Rorschach test. Bo, I'm going to give you
frozen yogurt.
I'm going to give you a word, Bo. Okay. You tell me the very first thing that comes into your mind.
Guam.
The very first. No, not Guam. Not. Okay. First thing that comes into your mind.
Okay.
White Castle.
Something at place I go to every 6 months. Cheap, easy, and by the way, since we started talking about Las Vegas,
that's why you're going to Vegas, cheap and easy.
In Las Vegas, White Castles, believe it or not, are a big freaking deal.
Well, they are in most of the country once you get outside of Chicago.
Once you get out, because you can't get them anywhere else, and so. Oh,
but they are popping up around the country.
No, just in Las Vegas. That's it.
No, I thought New York had a White Castle.
No,
I thought there was one in Times Square.
They're planning on getting a White Castle.
Okay.
Well, on my annual trip to Vegas, I was at a thing that I went to. I was in downtown Fremont Street. I'm going back to my hotel. I go, I need to go somewhere to get something to eat. And I don't feel like sitting down and having an order. So I went to the White Castle. I was in there for 30 freaking minutes. I'm like, it's just White Castles.
Yeah.
But to them, it's a big deal. You know, the year before they were having the food truck festival, you saw people walking around with those little briefcases of White Castles. They think it's gold. To me, it's just like, oh, I can walk there in 5 minutes from my house and get them and walk back to my house. And you know, but to them,
yeah,
it's the Holy Grail.
Well, I mean, you always want what you can't have, and you can't have White Castle.
You can't. Yeah,
you know what we can't have here?
What?
In-N-Out Burger.
Yes, and I'll be going to In-N-Out Burger, and I've been and actually for all the people who go, In-N-Out Burger is great. They're just okay. But you can't get them here, and so they're a bigger deal.
Yeah.
The thing
you couldn't have Five Guys here up until a couple of years ago.
No, you couldn't have and you couldn't have Fat Burger, which came here and basically died a painful death. But Fat Burgers is Las Vegas. The thing I found cool about the In-N-Out Burger, because the In-N-Out Burger is basically past the strip, the line there was ridiculously long. Mm-hmm. So I get in that line, figuring I'm going to be there for 20 minutes. 6 minutes later, hi, can I take your order? They're incredibly efficient.
Yeah.
They're also hyper religious, but they don't beat you over the head with it like Chick-fil-A. There's little religious stuff on the bottom of the shakes and stuff, but they're quick. They're very fast.
Yeah.
And it's also unionized, which is why everybody hates them. They're just okay, but you can't get them here, so that makes them a big deal.
For me, when I think of White Castles, first thing I think of is
gas
and comfort food. Gassy comfort food.
Yeah.
Gassy, greasy comfort food. I remember the first time this is one of those things always taste better when you're little, when you're a kid, than they do when you get older. I think the primary reason for that is your taste buds just die as you get older. But I remember White Castles. I remember how great those tasted, except for the pickle. I hated the pickle. I remember how great those tasted when I was like 6 or 7 years old when I first had them.
You technically can't get White Castles in any other city, but they're frozen. My sister, who she moved to California, so the first thing they do when they get here is let's go to White Castles. So my aunt and I are like, we're going to get some White Castles when she shows up. And we're going to get them and says, well, you know, she's coming from California. You get the frozen ones, and my aunt goes, they don't taste the same. People at the White Castle went, yeah, you're right. They don't taste the same at all. Because it's a microwave White Castle.
White Castles has always had the thing on the box where if they get cold, you can heat them up in the oven, but you have to put a couple of drops of water.
Yeah, because it's steam. It's steam.
Yeah, you have to put a couple of drops of water on them before you heat them back up. Because if you just heat them up, then I guess they burst into flames or something.
Well, then people do stupid stuff like putting it in the microwave in the box. You know.
Yeah, or that.
Take it out of the box.
Well, yeah, but I think they probably have microwave instructions on there too for that. It's probably the same thing. You got to put some water on them.
Yeah, and you remember here it was a big deal now. You know, people were using White Castles to make turkey stuff.
I just had White Castles last weekend. I usually have them maybe twice a year.
I
don't need them more often than that.
Twice or 3 times a year. Like I said, my advantage is I can walk from my house to White Castles in 6 minutes. Yeah. So it's not that big a deal to me because I can walk there to get to the damn thing.
Yeah, we've got a White Castle just up the street here. I can drive to in 3 minutes.
Yeah, they're a lot more. They're a lot more than there used to be. But for a while, you know, it was a big deal. It was something you couldn't get. You know, and so in Las Vegas, it's a big deal. So is what was Rodney? What is Rodney and Whippy selling?
Rodney and Rippy?
Yeah.
Jack in the Box.
Jack in the Box.
Jack in the Box.
Jack in the Box is there.
Yeah. Well, Jack in the Box was here. It disappeared.
It disappeared
in the 80s.
But Jack in the Box there is still a big deal.
I remember getting Jack in the Box once when I was a kid and being totally unimpressed by it.
I went to one and it was like, okay, this is sort of okay.
Yeah. You know what I remember that I do miss? Prince Castle. There used to be one on 95th Street, about 3 blocks down from the library in Oak Lawn. It's where the certified food store is right now. I think it's certified. It's either certified or fresh line. But it was right there at the corner, and it was literally on the corner. They tore it down when Certified wanted to expand their parking lot, and that was back in the 80s. And there was another one on 95th Street, on Cicero, just between the railroad tracks, I think, and Southwest Highway.
As you can tell,
he
lived in the suburban part of the area, and I lived in the city, and we didn't know what the hell Prince Castle was.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if Prince Castle was a suburban thing or not.
I think it was.
Okay.
I think it was.
The building itself actually looked like a castle.
Yeah.
White Castle looks like a castle too, except it looks like a porcelain castle made out of blocks.
Yes, it's porcelain.
This was an actual brick-looking building.
White Castle's a little more upscale looking now.
Prince Castle looked actually like a brick castle.
Maybe White Castle soothed them out of existence.
I don't think so. They didn't make the same type of burger.
No.
I mean, they made the more traditional burger.
The big thing about White Castle is the sliders. Okay, you can get sliders everywhere now.
Well, yeah, and they're called sliders or mini burgers.
Yeah, they're called mini burgers. But yes, basically what someone did, and whoever this person is who came up with all that stuff, they saw they heard about White Castle. They saw what it looked like. And they said, okay, we can do this, but we can actually make them better burgers.
Yeah.
And so you get Kobe beef. You want a Kobe beef slider? Hey, you get 3 Kobe beef sliders. It became a big deal. Or they call them sliders, or they call them mini burgers.
Mini burgers. And with that, we're done. We're finished. We're out of here. We've got nothing else for you. Let me remind you that The Alternate Reality is brought to you by Alternate Reality, which is still located at the intersection of 111th and Kedzie in beautiful downtown Mount Greenwood. Alternate Reality, where all of your new comics are always 15% off every day for everyone. Altering your reality for over 23 years now.
What?
In the friendly confines of Mount Greenwood. Bo?
Yes.
Thank you very much for joining me today.
Don't worry about it.
Say goodbye to all the nice folks.
So long, kids. I'm going to Vegas, and I'll be back.
He's going to Vegas. He'll be back. And until then...
Bye!